Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here, and we got another Washington weekly stream, Washington Commanders weekly stream, and I got my guy Nati from DMV Sports Zone. And today, we will touch on the Dwayne Haskins tragedy. We're also going to talk about the draft and a lot of other stuff. So, how you doing, Nati? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Yesterday, not gonna lie, was a depressing day. You touched on this like right before we went on, but obviously we have a very complicated relationship with Dwayne Haskins with what he brought to the table on the field. But it's just sad seeing someone first off so young and also someone from the area, die so tragically. And yeah, I don't know. Yesterday was depressing. I was at my cousin's house and was trying to, enjoy myself, but I really couldn't. But thank you for having me on, and this should be a good one.
Yeah, really, really disappointing news, of course, unless I had some people in the chat. What's up, Door Gunner? Always coming in here. Freddie Lee. Let's see. Peyton the Great, Billy, and Armin Brown and Patrick West. Appreciate all you guys coming through. So we'll just touch on the Haskins thing, pretty briefly because I talked about it on, yesterday in my video. And I know you guys made a video as well, so you guys can check that out. Really unfortunate news. And I think what made it worse is like, the Schefter and the Gil Brandt thing, not because it was bad, it was, but more that it was taking away attention from the celebration of Dwayne Haskins' life. I think that was like the bigger issue there because the focus
Hmm.
should have been on Dwayne Haskins celebrating the life he had, not like the bad things that Adam Schefter did and Gil Brandt did. We won't talk about it too much, but like Adam Schefter, the thing he did was terrible. Obviously wasn't as bad as Gil Brandt. But the thing with Schefter, he keeps on stacking up. Like this isn't the first strike. Like he's done a bunch of things that aren't really the best journalistic things. Like I think he announced Tom Brady's retirement 4 days before. Like I
I
know.
don't view that as the same.
No, no, oh no. It's not the same. But I'm just talking about like his journalistic credibility. Like if Michael Jordan, and I know Tom Brady ended up coming out of retirement, so it
So
wasn't
he
a
was
big
right.
deal. Well, no,
Yeah.
he said that Tom Brady was retiring. That's what he broke. But what I'm saying is like if Jordan's retiring, you want
Mhm.
Jordan to be able to announce that. But Schefter announced it 4 days before Brady did, and like Ian Rapport was kind of respected Brady and was like, it's leaning towards that, but like he's not gonna. We don't know yet, and we're waiting for him to announce it. And I think there was something with Deshaun Watson as well, and it's just been a lot of difficult things that he's been doing. So it's another thing that stacks up, but it is what it is. Really unfortunate situation with Haskins. So real quick, do you have any like favorite moment from Dwayne Haskins' career in Washington?
Yeah. So first off, with Haskins, yeah, so you saw the video, probably other people in the chat saw the video from yesterday on our channel. Abdullah did the reaction, but it sort of spoke for all of us and our thoughts and, how tragic of a loss it was that with the situation that happened to Haskins early Saturday morning. I mean, although he was only here for what, 2 years, a little bit less than 2 years, or a little bit more than 2 years, I should say. Um, I obviously, seeing him smile every day, seeing him, he always had that youthful exuberance that a lot of people love to talk about, and that was a joy. But in terms of like, I guess on the field moment, I would say his first career win against the Detroit Lions. Saw the emotion, him hugging Kevin O'Connell, who put out a lengthy tweet, I believe, yesterday, talking about how much Haskins meant to him. Um, I'll probably say his first career win, yeah, against the Detroit Lions, and he had a pretty good game. And really, that tail end of the 2019 season, I think he actually gave us hope, at the quarterback position. And it's just sad. Well, it was much less sad to see how things panned out on the field than it is to deal with what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. That was one of my favorite moments. I think I have a few. So one of them is the Bengals game. I went to that game and he had that touchdown to Robert Davis. That was super, super hype when that happened. Then the Lions win. I was also at that game. Tickets were $4. I remember. And then he got that, didn't have the best game, but I remember the last kind of few drives, he got us in field goal range and helped us get us that win. And then the 70-yard touchdown pass to Terry where, he went on that slant and you saw that Ohio State connection. Those were kind of my favorite plays. Unfortunate how it all ended here in Washington, but I was excited to see what he could do in Pittsburgh. And it's unfortunate everything that happened yesterday. And yeah, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. So it's hard to, but we're going to move on from that. Went into it a little bit more detail yesterday on my video. And same thing with Nachi. And the last thing I'll say is you could just see the impact he had on people, like the amount of people that put out statements and like how he impacted their lives. And he's only been in the league 3 years now, 3 years. Like, it's just insane. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say. But rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. So now, again, hard to transition from that, but now onto the NFL draft. We are a couple weeks and a half away. This next Thursday will be 2 weeks away from the draft. So I believe so, right?
Yep.
So
28th.
we're getting close there. We are getting very close. And, one of the most exciting times of the year, it's usually either free agency or the draft. And this year for Washington was not free agency because we've only signed 2 outside guys. If you want to count Carson Wentz, I mean, it kind of is like it's part of the offseason, so it was a big move and it was right before, but still we only signed 2 outside guys, and I think we will sign some more after the draft because they're kind of worried, I think, about the comp picks, because if you sign a guy in free agency who his contract expired and you sign him, that counts against the comp formula. And we had a lot of guys leave this offseason, or, definitely a few, like Brandon Sheriff, we got a huge contract. Why am I blanking? But a couple others as well. Tim Settle didn't get a huge contract, but he got a solid contract. There's a couple others as well that, we'll get comp picks for them. But if we were to sign someone else this offseason that their contract expired, it would have canceled out some of those comp picks. So I think that's part of the reason why they're not being as aggressive. And also they don't have a ton of money. But yeah, draft a couple weeks away and the debate is really going to start. I mean, it's already kind of starting. Like, some people, which I heavily disagree with, are like 100% we have to go offense. And I think we should probably go offense. But like, you can't tell me if Sauce Gardner is there at 11, who's a top 3 player in this class, if he's there at 11, like, you can't tell me
a no-brainer.
That's a bad pick. Like, there was someone telling me that it shouldn't even be in consideration if Sauce Gardner is there at 11 to draft him. Like, let me tell you guys, I know you guys want offense, and I want offense too. I think we do need to add another receiver, but there are more elite receivers in the NFL than there are, or at least there are more number 1 receivers in the NFL than there are shutdown corners. I mean, there's a few shutdown corners in the league: Jalen Ramsey, Jair Alexander, Xavier Howard, Tre'Davious White, and maybe Marshawn Lattimore. There might be a couple others that are in that conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say at least 4, maybe 5. I'm not sure about Xavier Howard, but at least 4 of those guys were first rounders. Like, the top receivers, yeah.
Exactly. Like, there's not many elite cornerbacks in this league. There are not many elite cornerbacks in this league, but there are a bunch of receivers that can get you 1,100 yards in this league in a good system. Like, there's a lot of those. There's 10, 15, 20 maybe, probably around 20 that can do that. Cornerbacks, not the case at all. So if Sauce Gardner's there, I'm taking him for sure, but I think there's a very small possibility he's there. There is a possibility because it looks like there might be 3 to 4 defensive ends drafted in the top 10. Looks like there's going to be probably 1 to 2 receivers in the top 10. Who knows though? And then definitely 2 tackles at least. So you add all that up, and if Carolina decides to take a QB, Kyle Hamilton or Sauce Gardner might be there. And this is where I think we disagree a little bit, because I know you're a pretty big Derek Stingley fan. I like the potential, but it's like, for me, if he's there, it wouldn't be a no-brainer for me, just because I think there are some red flags with him. There also are some like elite things about him that you're like, man, if we can coach him up, he's probably the steal or one of the steals of the draft, even at 11, because he was that good in 2019. So I would definitely be intrigued by him at 11. Like, let's say Garrett Wilson's gone, Drake London's gone, Kyle Hamilton is gone, and no one really wants to trade back with you. I wouldn't be ecstatic if we drafted Derek Stingley, but I definitely wouldn't mind it. But I know you like him a little bit more.
I would say though we don't disagree too much on the no-brainer stuff. Like I don't think it would be a no-brainer if Stingley fell to 11, especially if we had Kyle Hamilton, or Jameson Williams, or even the Ohio State guys, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. Like all those guys would be strong consideration. I would say though, like on your defense versus offense point, I'm with you. I think we could go defense, we could go offense. It just depends on who's the best player available at pick 11. If that guy is a Kyle Hamilton, then go after him. If that guy is a Chris Olave, then go after him. Like, I don't think it's an automatic either way. And also, I will say this: I think the team. This probably isn't a hot take, but I think the team will either go receiver or secondary. And that makes sense because those two positions are very premium in the NFL right now, in this pass happy league, right? You have the receivers who catch the balls, and then you also have the defensive backs who are supposed to guard them and supposed to prevent, super big days in the passing game on the opposing side. So I think one of those two positions will be addressed at pick 11. And my money's on receiver just because of the way Ron Rivera has gone about things this offseason, not really addressing the position. Also, we got to mention DeAndre Carter went to the Chargers as well. So our depth at receiver is not looking too good. And in my opinion, the whole Curtis Samuel thing, he's the icing on top. If he comes back fully healthy,
Same
fine.
thing with De'Ami Brown for me.
Yeah. So like, and I that's kind of sad to say though, because I think we're paying Curtis Samuel what 11, 12, 13 million dollars this year. So it shouldn't be that way. But that's how I'm viewing things. Like you can't bank on a healthy Curtis Samuel at this point until you actually see him on the FedEx field, fully healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a little more optimistic with Curtis. The only thing I need is I need to know if because I don't think he's super injury prone. I think it's the big issue is the groin, and if he's recovered from the groin, then I feel good. I feel like he can produce for us, and I think most people do as well. If we're in OTAs. And I'll give him a pass for the first week. Like if they want to slowly ramp him in, that's totally fine. But by the end of OTAs, if he's not like 100%, like if they're not playing him or if he's not in OTAs, that is extremely concerning because that'll be over a year since a groin injury happened and he's not 100%. And that to me, and I think I talked about it with on the Big Doug show, that like if they draft a receiver, it doesn't necessarily mean anything about Curtis Samuel, but it could show that they're a little bit concerned about his injury. If they don't draft a receiver in the first though, then it shows that they're confident. They're very confident in Curtis Samuel being back for the season. But if he's not ready by training camp, I am putting zero stock into I'm not like you said, if he's not ready by training camp, then I'm like, okay, whatever he adds this season is a bonus. Right now, though, I'm still optimistic because I mean, it's a year almost since the groin injury happened. So I would hope he's ready. And before this groin injury, he had a couple minor injuries, but it wasn't like big deals, big injuries. So but yeah, I'm a little concerned with Curtis Samuel if he's not ready by the start of the training camp.
Yeah, I would be too. And on Dora Gunner's point about Jameson or Stingley, I'm consistent. I want both of those guys here in DC. So I think Jameson Williams, his timetable was 5 to 7 months from when he sustained the injury in the national championship game for NFL.com. So if that's the case, he should be ready by the start of the regular season, if not a couple weeks in. In my opinion, he's by far the number one receiver prospect. Chris Sims also agrees with me. Number one receiver prospect when healthy.
I'm kind of I'm consistent with both too. I like both a lot. I think Jameson Williams right now is still probably even with the injury, probably my number 2 receiver, really close there with Garrett Wilson. They're very close for me. And then Derek Stingley, it's not only the injury though that can the injury, it's also his drop in play from 2019 to the next couple years. I'm not with Jameson Williams, I'm not concerned at all with his play because I know that he's gonna be a baller in this league. If he's not the best receiver in this class, he's gonna end up being one of the best receivers in this class. The only issue is that we need someone who can come in there and produce somewhat right away. And if Jameson can't, then maybe he's not the pick at 11. But if the medical staff feels like he can be ready by the start of the season or by training camp, he's my number 1 or number 2 around that. I'm 100% all in on taking him at 11. The only problem though is we don't have an athletic head trainer right now. I've been saying this for so long. I do not think we're going to be taking risks this year in terms of guys with a lot of injury issues. And Jamison, I think it's only the ACL, but maybe someone like Derek Stingley who's had multiple injuries, because like if you don't have a head trainer, like it's tough. It's tough really to, trust your guys if you don't have a head guy making the decision, giving you his opinions on these guys. So an ACL shouldn't be too big of a deal. Like there should be, they should have some guys on the team that can tell like if he's going to be good. And like most ACL injuries are fine. So I also would be good with us taking Jameson Williams I would be decent about it. Like I would feel decent about it at 11. And if we got him at like 13 or later, I would feel ecstatic about it. Chris Olave, I'm like at 11, like I would be okay with it, but I wouldn't. I don't think that's great value for Olave because 11's a little bit too high for me. If we traded back and got him though, then I would be really, really happy.
To be honest though, Jamin Davis wasn't great value at 19. There was a lot of people predicting he would, at best be in the late 20s ish in the first round, and we picked him at 19. So, and there's already been a lot of interest in Chris Olave from Ron Rivera. So, I mean, it could happen.
Yeah, Jamin Davis last year, like I don't like they already whiffed on him. I'm not saying he's a bust at all, like not at all, because he can still be a baller in this league. But they messed up on their evaluation. They thought he was a middle linebacker, not a middle linebacker. So they already messed up on that. And yeah, I'm just not. I wasn't a huge fan of the pick at the time. Like my gut reaction, I feel like always like your gut reaction is like the right one. And I was sitting there hyped up, like I was like, come on, Darrisaw or Jeremiah Uso-Cormo. I wanted Uso-Cormo, but I was going to be fine with him or Christian Darrisaw. And then when we drafted him, I kind of fell to the floor. And like originally I was like, you know what, it's okay. And then, you always convince yourself a little bit that it's a better, once you start hearing, military guy, 4-3, whatever. Like you start convincing yourself a little bit, but I never ever really liked him that much. Like I really liked Jeremiah Uso-Cormo. I think
everybody did, bro.
Yeah, like I think if we traded, I was even saying like last year, I was saying this. I would not mind even if we traded up for a non-quarterback. Like if it's Rashawn Slater, Christian Darris, I think I said Darrisaw, Parsons, or Uso-Cormo, I would not be upset if we traded up and got one of those guys. All of those guys have been studs for the most part. Darrisaw's, good, but he's not like insane yet. But we could have traded back and gotten Jamin Davis in the 20s for sure. Like I still think he was going to go in the first round, but it was kind of going to be like 25 to 32, maybe 25 to 35. And we did not get good value for him. And I think they probably tried to trade back, but no one else wanted to. But yeah, Uso-Cormo would have been a great pick.
I will say the Giants, I think, were reportedly interested in Jamin Davis. If they didn't go with Kadarius Toney, I heard that they would have picked Jamin Davis.
Yeah,
so maybe we were afraid of them. But no, bro, if we got Jock on our defense, if we selected him at pick 19, like all of us wanted, which usually when a whole fan base supports one particular player to be picked at one particular spot, right? And it's not like a top 5 pick. Usually it's a fool's gold selection. Like usually it doesn't turn out well in the end. But it did for Jock, and he was a beast for the Browns last year, and they got him in the second round, I believe.
Second round.
He's from Virginia. Like it just all adds up.
Yeah, and I wasn't, upset that we passed up on him on the second, because we did get a good player in Cosme. Like I'm totally fine with that pick, but yeah, that our draft class last year not looking the best, because like first round pick Jamin Davis still up in the air, but you can't deny that he's not a middle linebacker and wasn't good value for him. Second round pick, I think they hit it out of the park. Like not a home run, but like a solid pick. I mean, I'm thinking of what I said. Out of the park is a home run, but like kind of like an A- kind of grade for Sam Cosme. Like only ding is the injuries. If he wasn't injured, it would have been an A+ pick. Maybe then it would be out of the park. And then your 2 third-round picks, I mean, Benjamin St. Juste was good when he was on the field. Like he not good, he was solid. Like he showed promise, but he also had 3 concussions. And then De'Ami Brown was very, very, very underwhelming last year. We'll see if he. I mean, at least he had a couple nice plays, like AGG, like you were saying, didn't have a single play like in his rookie year. De'Ami Brown at least.
One end around run.
De'Ami Brown mossed someone, and then he had a couple other decent plays, but he was very underwhelming in his rookie year. And you look at after that, John Bates was a great pick. Like that's an A+ pick in the 4th round to get PFF's best blocking tight end. Again, PFF, take it with a grain of salt, but he was a good blocker and he added some things in the passing game. And then you got Derek Forrest. That's a NA. You don't know yet. We'll see. I thought in the last game, though, he did flash a little bit. That was like one of the only games he played. He got to the quarterback a little bit. The 7th round picks, pretty solid. Dax Milne, I think, can be a good slot receiver in this, league. Shaka Toney looked a little bit promising. And then, William Bradley King, whatever. What's up, Jairus? Appreciate you coming through. What's up, Jay? What's up, Each?
I said Jock was his nickname. I don't know what Jairus is talking about, but no. So sorry. Just go ahead.
I thought his nickname was JOK though.
I've heard Jock. I've heard JOK. I've heard. I mean, Wusu Karamoa. Like I don't know. I'll say JOK from now on if that makes Chris more comfortable.
You talked about it earlier. DeAndre Carter leaving. I personally do not think it's a big loss because, and I've been saying this for a while, like originally when the season ended, I was like, okay, I think we should bring back DeAndre Carter. And if we brought him back, I would have been fine with it. But the more I thought about it, like he was a good kick returner. Do not get me wrong. Like he was our best kick returner in a while. And that's not saying much because our kick returners have been bad, but he was a good kick returner in this league. One of the better ones in this league. But as a punt returner, like if you actually watched, first off, like he didn't lose any fumbles, but there was so many times where he bobbled the ball, and there was so many times where he fielded the ball when he shouldn't have, and he let it go when he shouldn't have. Like he was
always, he would always rip off his chin strap in anger and frustration, but it would happen every single time.
He was a below average punt returner at best, in my opinion, in this league. And kick returner, I think, is such it's not a valuable position at all, in my opinion, unless you have an elite guy. Because just think about like the math, okay? You do a fair catch or whatever, you don't run it out, you get it to the 25, automatic. Like DeAndre Carter, one of the best in the league last year, and he averaged 25.1. And the thing is, half the time, maybe like 1/3 of the time, you do bring it out, there's a penalty. So like, and then you start at the 10 or 15, and that just screws you up. And then, you get the risk of getting injured, fumbling the ball, and most of the times you don't even get to the 25. So kick returner, in my opinion, not a very valuable position. Like if Danny Johnson makes a team, that's fine with me. Do a fair catch every time it's in the end zone. And, when he needs to run it, he was okay when he did it. Punt returner, that's more valuable because like you can fumble the ball. Like it's easy to fumble the ball, and there are opportunities to, run a little bit more. So that's something that they do need to address. But like there's guys in late round of the draft. There's probably Dax Milne on the team could probably do it. So I do not think it's a big loss. And he was good at times on the offense. Like, Scott Turner used him as a gadget guy. But again, I feel like there's guys on that team. Like if Curtis Samuel was healthy last year, DeAndre Carter wouldn't have really had much of a role on the offense because a lot of things like the end rounds he did and some of the things he added to the offense, that's what Curtis Samuel was going to do, but at a much higher level. And he also dropped that pass in the Cowboys game that really, really killed us.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your assessment on Carter and why we didn't bring him back. But I will say it's not going to be a big loss if we replace him. If we, it might not take much to replace him, but we got to replace these guys. We can't just let them walk through the door like a Brandon Sheriff, like now a DeAndre Carter, and not do anything to add to the position. But I definitely agree with you. Like we could get a kick returner maybe in the draft. I heard Andre Roberts, or we call them Dropperts here in DC, might be interested, or we might be interested in him potentially manning one of our returner spots this upcoming season. That might be interesting because he's turned into a pretty good pretty good returner in his career. So it would be nice to bring him here in DC. I will say as well with the $1 million from the Chargers. Yeah, I don't really think this team wanted to bring him back. With Curtis Samuel coming back healthy, he, again, like you said, he would have probably taken those end arounds, probably would have been the slot receiver for this team this year. He just wasn't healthy this year, and that's why we saw DeAndre Carter have the year that he did. And lastly, I will say it's kind of sad because I don't know if you guys remember, but early on last season, he wasn't just a good kick returner. He was one of the best in the league. I remember putting out the tweet, I think it was at the beginning of the Pro Bowl selection process, talking about how he was like second in yards gained. And obviously he had the touchdown against the Falcons, and he was an elite returner. And things started to tail off towards the end of the season. And that's why he wasn't eventually selected to the Pro Bowl, right? And I think that just told you, what we got in DeAndre Carter, what the team, sort of expected the second half of the season that they didn't get. And that probably added to why they let him go.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Washington definitely needs to do some things this offseason to address some of the guys that they've lost. And, this guy on Twitter, Commander's Realm or whatever.
Yeah.
Like some of his tweets kind of get to me a little bit. Like he was like, oh, DeAndre Carter is not a big loss, but it adds to like the 8th big contributor / starter that Washington has lost this offseason. And then someone was like, okay, who are the 8 that we lost? And then he listed like Sheriff, Flowers, Collins, which, okay, I agree with those guys. Flowers was a good starter. Sheriff, of course, was a good starter. And then Collins was terrible the first half of the season, but was good in the second half of the season. So, okay, I'll give him that. Then the guys he lists, Ricky Seals-Jones, Tim Settle, Matt Ioannidis, and DeShazer Everett. Okay, first off, Tim Settle is a good player. But last year for us, and I think it was our fault, but we played him like, 5 snaps a game? So he was a non-factor. Not saying he's not a good player. He was a non-factor. Ricky Seals-Jones, yes, he was good at times, and it's a small loss. But, first off, he was injured for, 6-7 games. And second off, before Logan Thomas was hurt, he didn't do that much besides that really nice catch against the Giants. So, if Logan Thomas wouldn't have went down, Ricky Seals-Jones wouldn't have been a huge, huge contributor. He's not that much of a loss. So replaceable. So replaceable. There's not many great ones out now. They could have done it earlier, but it's definitely a guy who's replaceable. I don't understand how he mentions this DeShazer Everett. First off, who is being charged for whatever he is being charged for. And second of all, he is a special teams player who, I think, for years he was really good, but the last couple of years, nothing that special. He also missed 5 games because of that whole issue. And, the one time he was in coverage, he allowed that last second touchdown to the Seahawks, which we almost lost the game. So, yes, we have lost some guys. And he mentioned DeAndre Carter. Again, another replaceable guy. So, I feel like as long as we replace some of those guys, the losses are very, very minimal besides Brandon Sheriff, Eric Flowers, and Landon Collins. We already addressed one of the guys in Andrew Norwell. We replaced Eric Flowers with Andrew Norwell. Got to still replace Brandon Sheriff. We'll see with that. And then Landon Collins, I think he could come back, or we add someone like Kyle Hamilton who can fill his role, can play free safety as well. So I know I kind of went on a rant there, but what do you think about what I was saying?
No, I mean, I think you're right, bro. To say that DeShazer, Everett, we appreciate what he brought to the table, right? Special teams ace. There's a reason why he stuck under 2 regimes here in DC, but he had his tragic situation obviously this past season. Tim Settle, I think a lot of people. I realize this, Pedro. I don't know if you have as well, but I think a lot of people are stuck on the season that Tim Settle had, I think the previous year, right? Where he had 5 sacks or something. Yeah. I think
last year.
I think a lot of people are stuck in with that season in their minds, at the top of their minds. And that's why people think it's a big loss. But it's not that big of a loss. But again, these losses wouldn't be, even talked about if we at least addressed some of these positions before the draft. You can't address all of them in the draft. Like, for as much as fans might think that, you can't. You can't address interior defensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, receiver, free safety, linebacker, quarterback. You can't address all these needs in the draft. And I think, it would have been nice to see more activity out of this organization leading into it. But we're here now. Can't do anything about it. We got to move into this draft, address some of the needs that we have, and move forward. But I don't think we had eight areas of need that opened up because of the losses that we had this season or this offseason. I don't believe that happened.
Yep, I agree. Totally agree with you. Let's see. Appreciate you coming through, Brian. And guys, we got 75 people in here. Make sure you guys like up the stream, subscribe to me, subscribe to Nati, their channel DMV Sports Zone. Link is in the description. So let's move on. I'm gonna put a poll question in the chat. So it's gonna be, who are you taking at 11, and we'll discuss it as well. So okay, I accidentally already posted it. I was gonna add more guys, but we'll go ahead and leave it at that. Let's see. I saw someone say, "Brush the forces." I want someone the way Pedro Sims for John. Hey, I mean, he's the best Washington reporter. I mean, like I can't deny it. I mean, who's your favorite Washington beat reporter?
No, we talk about. I agree with you, bro. I agree with you 1,000%. I was lucky enough to have him on our channel. I think it was at the start of last year. Trying to see if I can again, but no, he's a super busy man, super insightful. Also, the one thing that we can't take for granted, he gives you the facts. He gives you, the straight up reporting without, all the bias that comes with it, and even with the whole Ohio State Terry McLaurin, and then obviously when we drafted Dwayne Haskins, he was super unbiased. Even though I don't know if you guys know, he's a super big Ohio State fan. Like, he went to Ohio State, graduated from there. But yeah, I 1,000% agree with you.
And his sources are like, whenever he says something, it's almost always true. So like, if you always anytime want any nuggets or anything of information, listen to the first like 5-10 minutes of his podcast. They're great, and then he has some good info after that. So let's move on from me simping for John Kahn. So I was gonna ask a different question, but the poll I ended up doing was, who are you taking at 11, Wilson or Olave? Right now it's split. It's split right now. For me, I like Garrett Wilson over Olave for sure. Definitely as a receiver, I like Garrett Wilson a lot better than Olave. In terms of their fit here, Olave might fit a little bit better because we do need more of that outside receiver. But Garrett Wilson's still a beast. He can play both outside and in the slot. Great yards after the catch. I mean, he can do everything. And people were knocking him for speed. And he's, at least in the 40, he was faster than Chris Olave. And of course, the 40 isn't everything, but he ran faster than Chris Olave. So if he's there at 11, I would be happy if we took him. Also wouldn't be upset if we traded back. But I definitely do like Garrett Wilson. And Chris Olave, I think he's a good player too. He's a great route runner, quick as well, great at those, sideline catches, toe drags. Not the best at contested catches. That's something definitely Garrett Wilson is better at. But I do definitely like Chris Olave for sure. But personally, I like Garrett Wilson. And one thing is, I just want Washington fans to know this. Like, originally, I remember like a couple months ago, a lot of the Washington fans liked Garrett Wilson over Chris Olave. But then now we're hearing, Washington really likes Chris Olave. Garrett Wilson's probably going to go before 11. And now everyone seems to like Olave more. And I'm assuming not because of the film they're watching, but because Washington likes him more. And it's more because I put out a poll. I'm going to go pull it up right here. But I put out a poll and I asked the question. This is the question I wanted to ask today. And it was, who are you taking at 11? And it was Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Derek Stingley Jr., and Nakobe Dean. Okay. The poll results, Garrett Wilson got 20% of the votes. Derek Stingley got 27%. Nakobe Dean got 5%. And Chris Olave got 48%. Like, that is incredible. Like, yeah. That was not the case, guys, 2 months ago, okay? And, yeah, I like Wilson over Olave, but, if they take him at 11, I think Olave is a very safe player. Like, I think you're gonna get a good starting receiver in the NFL with Olave. His upside might not be as much as someone like Jameson Williams or Drake London, who I think Drake London definitely has one of the lowest floors of this class. He also has a very high ceiling, but Chris Olave, I feel like, has a high floor.
I would actually go the other way. I think Garrett Wilson,
Really?
in terms of the Garrett Wilson versus Chris Olave, I would go Chris Olave at pick 11 just because when it comes to rookie receivers, there aren't a lot of things you can bank on, right? Obviously, speed is one of them. But the other thing, the most important thing is route running. And from what I've heard, Chris Olave is the best route runner in this draft class. Maybe Jameson Williams might have a say in that, but he's not healthy right now, so he can't really. But that's what I've heard, right? And there's been a lot of talk about how it'd be redundant to bring in Chris Olave when you already have a Terry McLaurin, when they're pretty much the same thing, right? In terms of prospects.
I'll take
about how Chris Olave. Exactly. You talk about how Chris Olave isn't the best contested catch guy. I mean, Terry wasn't. He developed into that, and I feel like Chris Olave could potentially do that the same as well. And smooth route runner and has the speed. I would like him here in DC. Doesn't necessarily have the size that you want, but you could always build on the size that he currently has, outside of height, of course. And yeah, I'd probably go with Chris Olave. Garrett Wilson, though, you'd be great too. I'd be happy with either one of those guys at pick 11. I just think with the way things are going, with the way Coach Rivera has already talked to Chris Olave a bunch thus far, and we've already seen the interest from this team in Chris Olave. I feel like he will probably be the pick at 11. But I agree with Mr. Lucklin. I'm probably butchering the name, but I think the ideal situation would be trading down and seeing whichever receiver falls to you and picking that receiver.
Yeah, like let's say you trade back from anywhere from 14 to 20, like I'll take Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, any of those guys. Who else am I missing that could? Traylon Burks. I don't know if I would take him in the top 20, but like if
JP Finley likes him though.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
if Jameson Williams or Chris Olave are there in the top 20, like after we trade back, I would definitely take him. The only thing I'll say to kind of counter your point is like, I mean, you watch the Alabama receivers, so you know a little bit more. But Devontae Smith was kind of known as like one of the best route runners, right? And then Jalen Waddle is more kind of that yak guy. And Jalen Waddle had a great, and they both had good rookie years, but like Jalen Waddle had over 1,000 yards in his rookie year.
They fed him the ball way more.
Well, yeah, but that's what you can do with a guy like that, because that's the thing. You can give him. It's very easy to get a guy who's great with at yak to help him with his strength, because you just give him a screen and let him do the rest. And Jamar Chase, I mean, he's just an animal with everything, but like he's not like the best route runner. He's amazing at yards after catch. So I agree with your point. Like ideally, like I think route running is the best skill set to have, but I feel like Garrett Wilson does it well enough on top of his yak ability that I like him better. Definitely like him better overall. The fit might be a little bit better for Olave and Washington because they are needing that outside receiver a little bit more, because I do think Curtis Samuel is more of a slot guy. But whatever they do, receiver in the first round will not upset me, even though I definitely do not like. I'm usually not a fan of taking receivers in the first round unless they are a Jamar Chase, a Jalen Waddle, even a Devontae Smith, because like look at all the receivers that got or are going to get extensions this year. Devontae Smith, Tyreek Hill, Terry McLaurin, A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, all those guys, not in the first round. Stephon Diggs, not in the first round. So all of those guys were not in the first round. So that's why, to me, when someone tells me I'm a clown for picking Kyle Hamilton at 11 or picking Sauce Gardner at 11, like that's why I'm telling them, like, yes, I want a receiver too, but you can get a receiver in the second round. Like there's going to be a guy at 47 that is going to end up being a Pro Bowler. Just is Washington going to take that guy? Like I guarantee you there will be a Pro Bowl receiver this year after the second round. Who knows? There might be more Pro Bowl receivers in the second and third round than there were in the first round. So like I am team receiver. Don't get me wrong, like in the first round, But at the same time, the sweet spot for receivers is the second to third round. So if they do take Kyle Hamilton or another defensive player, do not get upset unless it's like I don't want Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd at 11. But like if they take Sauce Gardner or even Derek Stingley, like don't get too upset unless they don't take like a receiver in the second round or after that. If they don't take a receiver at all, then okay, you have you definitely have the right to be upset. But there's definitely good, like, George Pickens. I don't know if he's going to be there at 47, but he's a guy that's probably going to go late first, early second. Christian Watson, same scenario. Sky Moore, David Bell, who's going to go second to third round. So many option guys. Don't get upset like if we don't get one in the first. But yeah, I mean, ideally we take a receiver, we trade back and get a receiver. But if we take a defensive player, do not get upset.
And yeah, I mean, like you said at the very beginning of the show, I'm just gonna go back to that. Like you mentioned how you could find all these receivers in the second, third, fourth, so on rounds, right? It's harder to find a elite defensive back right outside of the first round. So considering a Kyle Hamilton, considering a Derek Stingley, Ahmad Gardner, even if it's gonna be super unlikely that he falls to 11, like you got to consider those guys as well at pick 11. There's a lot of players that are viable bets for us at 11.
I agree, and Harry Hilton, I like the profile pick, says Pickens, Watson, Pierce. Yeah, there's a lot of good options here for sure. And I am starting because I'm getting, before the free agency, I was watching a lot of film on the quarterbacks and, a couple of players like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. I kind of stopped for a while because it's free agency and all my quarterback work was gone to, waste because we're probably not going to take one. But I started watching some film over the last few days. Kyle Hamilton, put him on the Washington Commanders, please. Like this guy, like I don't care. If you tell me he's not a free safety, I think he can be. But if you tell me he's not, totally fine with me. We need another Buffalo nickel player because we use that package over 50% of the time. He can play that. He can play strong safety. He can play will linebacker. He can play free safety. He literally can play anything you want him to play except for the D line and maybe nickel, slot corner because he's good at covering the big receivers and the tight ends, but against those slot receivers and normal receivers, he is not the best at. But Kyle Hamilton at 11 would be amazing because there's so many things you can do with him. You can do this. You can have Bob McCann at free safety, Cam Curl at strong safety, and have Kyle Hamilton at the Buffalo nickel. You could have Kyle Hamilton ideally him at free safety, Cam Curl at strong safety, and then Bobby McCann in the slot. Or you could you can put Kyle Hamilton at strong safety, move Cam Curl to free safety. I mean, the possibilities are endless with Kyle Hamilton. Amazing open field tackler, great tackler in general. He's got good hands, great instincts. Speed isn't elite, but it's good enough in my opinion. And I would be super, super happy if he's there at 11. Like he's probably the best, in my opinion, the best case scenario. Or if we trade back and get like Olave or Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit of a politician here, bouncing around like the issue of pick 11 without getting at my true thoughts on who I want because I do have like a 3-part series going with like the top 3 guys that I want at 11. And I'll just say this: I agree with you on Kyle Hamilton. I think he's a stud. Would be a huge addition to this team. Stingley would be a huge addition, but Hamilton, like. It's funny because you talked about at the beginning of the draft cycle how a lot of people felt a different way about the whole Garrett Wilson versus Chris Olave thing. But beginning of the draft cycle, Kyle Hamilton was a locked-in top 5 guy, let alone top 10 guy. And now he's fallen off of a 40-yard time. I mean, that's kind of I feel like that's what the combine can do for you and the whole draft process itself. People overthink things.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing in my opinion with Kayvon Thibodeau. Like as an Oregon fan who watched him, like I always thought he was a little bit overrated, but like I don't like the fact, like I think he is a top 3 pick. Like I don't think he's like should be falling out of the top 10. Like definitely a top 5 pick, and it's crazy to think he might be out of the top 10. And I think similar to like Micah Parsons last year, who kind of slipped a little bit. I think teams are going to regret skipping out on drafting Kyle Hamilton or Micah Parsons. I think part of it with Hamilton is a little bit the 40-yard. I think the 4.59 is not concerning at all, but he ran at the pro day and it was like 4.6, 4.7. That's a little bit more concerning. I think that's why he's slipping a little bit. But at the same time, another reason why I think he's slipping is like you look at a lot of the team needs in the first top 10 are edge rushers and tackles. So
more premium positions too.
exactly. So like the Giants, what are their two biggest positions in need? Offensive line and edge rusher. That's besides, franchise quarterback. They're going to take those two positions very likely in the first, with their top two picks. Saying that the Jets are probably going to take an edge rusher with one of those picks and then maybe a Sauce Gardner or a receiver with the other pick. And I'm trying to think of the other teams like Seahawks could use an edge rusher, maybe a quarterback. Panthers could use a quarterback. They should probably take a quarterback. But we'll see what they do. I mean, there's a lot of different teams that don't really need help in the secondary. So I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
We talked about kind of the top, at 11. Real quick, I want to hear kind of your rankings on the receivers, like your top 5-ish. I know who your number one guy is.
Yeah, definitely know who my number one guy is. Let me see. So yeah, I'm trying to go from 5 to 1. So I would say,
and you guys in the chat can give me your opinions as well on your top 5 receivers.
I would say like my top 5 or top 4, I should say, are pretty much locked and loaded. I don't know about number 5, but 4 would probably be Drake London. 3 would probably be Garrett Wilson. 2, Chris Olave, and then 1, Jameson Williams. 5, I would probably go. I mean, you could go with Christian Watson. You could go with George Pickens. 5 is like the one spot that I'm a little unsure on. But like those 4 are pretty solid for me. And number 1, like they're another tier. When we're talking about all healthy guys, number 1's on another tier, in my opinion.
Yeah, I need to watch more film on because I've watched film on almost all the top 4 receivers except for Williams because I know he's a beast, but I need to actually watch it to really give. But I'm gonna go Garrett Wilson 1, Williams 2, Olave 3. No, I'll go London. It's tough with London Olave because like you see the traits there with London. For now,
about the separation issues though.
Yeah, for now I'm gonna go now. I'll go Olave, London. I just watched 3 of London's game today, so it's like kind of in my mind. But it's like tough with London because like his yards after catch ability is right up there with Garrett Wilson. Like it's right up there with what he can do. The separation is like it's not as bad as people think. Like he can get open. Quarterback play at USC was not very good. Blocking is solid. The only thing is like I watched the Notre Dame game. Like he had like 170 yards, but like he had like 9 screen, catches. Like so, like 9 of those were like screen passes, and like that's just not going to be able to happen all the time in the NFL because like he's going up against college players, and he's a bigger receiver, and he can take advantage of that because he's way bigger than these college guys. In the NFL, I don't necessarily think that's gonna be the case, but he still definitely intrigues me. So, I'll go London 3, Olave 4, but it's pretty close, but we'll see. And then after that, I agree, kind of it's tough after that. Maybe, you could go Pickens, you could go Jahan Dotson. Like there's a lot, Treylon Burks. So it is definitely tough for me. But yeah, Williams, every day I'm starting to go up a little bit more with him, like where I'm drafting him. So, he at the end of the draft process for me, he'll probably be 1. We'll see though.
You see Jay's comment, man? Williams, McLaurin, Samuel as our wide receiver trio.
I mean, not right away, but eventually that could be a top 5 room right there.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be nice. And then what are your thoughts on linebacker at 11? I am strongly against taking linebacker at 11. Like the best I'll give you is taking Kyle Hamilton, who can kind of play that Buffalo nickel, other positions that in the box a little bit more, also free safety. But I'm not taking, unless it's a elite linebacker, I'm not taking one at 11, and we do not have there's no elite linebacker in this class. Like at least there might be eventually, like they might turn out to be elite, but in terms of like the prospects, there's no elite linebacker in this class. There's no Devin White or guys like that. So, and usually, honestly, you look at the last few years, taking a linebacker in the first round really hasn't panned out. And, Parsons has, but I'm not really even considering him a linebacker because, as a linebacker, he's average, but as an edge rusher, elite. Like, he's just insane. So, I'm not even counting him as a linebacker because he's kind of more of an edge rusher, and that's probably what he's going to do. So linebacker, take one in the second, or if you trade back in the first, don't take one in the first, but trade back. Maybe you can take one in the second or third with those picks that you get. I think that's what they should try to do. Trade back, get a receiver in that, in those teens, and then you can, get a linebacker later to address that hole because they do need a middle linebacker, and preferably, hopefully, they get one in free agency. It doesn't have to be a stud, but just a guy that can hold it down, someone that is significantly better than David Mayo, because David Mayo cannot be our starting linebacker next year.
Yeah, I heard Alexander Johnson's still out there in free agency.
Yeah, he's my guy. That's who I want.
Yeah. I don't know what we're doing, but I guess we're just waiting it out to see what we get in the draft. I do see the comment, talking about how have you been paying attention? Our offense sucks, another defense play. Have you guys been paying attention, to what our defense did last year? Because last time I checked, we were bottom 10 in all defensive categories last year. I know we improved second half of the season. I'll give you that, but we didn't improve enough to get out of the bottom 10 in a lot of statistical categories on defense last year. And this adds to the reason why I think Carson Wentz went from a pretty good situation with the Colts to, even though our situation is good, a worse situation, because even though while our defense might be more talented than the Colts defense played more as a unit last year. So we shall see what our defense brings third year. But that just adds to our point about how, Derek Stingley, or more likely, Kyle Hamilton might not be a bad idea at pick 11. But in terms of linebacker, I agree with you. I don't think there's any linebacker we're taking at 11. I mean, a lot of people like to talk about Nakobe Dean. I know that's Tim from Tim Sports Talk guy, and Devin Lloyd as well from Utah, but none of those guys are, like you said, Devin Bush or Devin White. And I think if we're going to go linebacker in the first round, we probably have to trade down and see which linebacker falls to us. But I would say go with a secondary guy or a receiver, two premium positions, two positions that, we trot out there on the field every single play, right? We don't always play with three linebackers. I think it's actually rare that we have three linebackers all on the field at the same time. So
partly because we don't have guys that can play.
That's a good point. Yeah,
but yeah,
that is a good point.
Even then, we still are a lot lower than usual of the percentage. And Gunnar, hey, I get your point. We should prioritize, offense, but we still need to work on the defense. We still have holes there, and you can't pass up on elite talent just to fill a need. If there's still a position need on defense and there's an elite guy that number 3 on your board, and the position need on offense is there, but he's number 14 on your board, it's clear. Take number 3. Yes, the offense has been bad the last few years, but I mean, there's a reason for that. Yes, we've had, the skill players haven't been the best, but the main reason is the quarterback position. Last year, who'd we start? Garrett Gilbert for a game. Taylor Heineke was not good. We had Ryan Fitzpatrick for a little bit the year before. Kyle Allen, Haskins. Who else? I'm trying to think. Heineke started. Alex Smith. We haven't had good QB play in the last since Scott Turner's been here. So I still want to take a receiver in the first couple rounds, but we shouldn't just go offense because they've been struggling the last few years, because big reason's been the quarterback, and I think we got a significant upgrade at quarterback position, and we do have some players there, and the offensive line is solid. Tight ends, that's a debate. If we do, if Logan Thomas is not ready, then you might need to take one somewhat early, maybe in the third round if they trade back and get one. But the biggest hole has been the quarterback, and they somewhat filled that. We definitely got a competent quarterback at least in there. We'll see if he can be better than that, and I think that'll really help out the offense. And I still think they should take a receiver, but I wouldn't say 100% offense.
Yeah. No argument here.
Yep. What's up, Skins fan? All day. Appreciate you coming through. OG in the chat. Make sure you guys go ahead and check him out. Always streaming great content over there. Door Gunner says, let's see. Bad QB play and also lack of offensive talent. So much draft capital spent on the defense. About time they stepped up. Yeah, I mean, they do have to step up, and I feel like they had a great second half of the season in 2020. Part of that was the bad QBs, but they still, like, even without, like, if you take out that part of it, they were still good. Like, they weren't elite, but they were still a good. What are you gonna say?
No, I mean that's 2 straight seasons of starting off slow on defense. Like I don't think we talk about
Not
that.
even defense, just everything. Like the
I
whole
mean, yeah,
team
that's true.
starting out slow. I think that's been a theme. And then, ball. I think the defense would have continued to do well in the second half of the season last year if not for all the COVID, the injuries, because
That's
it just,
fair.
they had, you think about it, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, those guys didn't really play much this year. They played half a season each, basically. Then you look at, like, even the backup ends were out. Casey Toohill, Shaka Toney, William Bradley King, James Smith Williams, like all those guys in that last stretch missed a few games. William Jackson played like maybe 10 games. Benjamin St. Juste played a few games. But Landon Collins missed a lot of the last part of the season. So, like, very key parts of the defense missed significant time last year. And right when the defense started to, like, play better, not necessarily elite football, but like good football, all of them started to get hurt. So if they can stay healthy this year and fill up a few of those holes, I feel like they can be a above average defense.
Okay.
Ekam Bajwa, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. He says, "Hey Pedro, are you okay with Stingley?" I'm definitely okay with Stingley. If we take him at 11, I'll be, I won't be ecstatic, but I'll be excited. I'll still be a little bit concerned though with the red flags he has, but I'm not totally out on Stingley for sure. Like, if we take him, I'll be fine with it. There's definitely other players though that I would like over him. Kyle Hamilton, Wilson, probably Williams as well, but if we take Stingley, it's not the end of the world. It's a premium position. We better hope that they develop him properly. Let's see. Some of the defensive struggles due to the offense going 3 and out all the time. Defense gets tired and then falls apart. Plus, the D knows they can't give up points because we can't score any. Any thoughts on that, Nati?
I mean that's fair. That's a fair point. I will say this though, that this is sort of drifting off the question, but more so to the issue around surrounding Carson Wentz with offensive talent. Let me ask you this, Pedro. Are you down on picking a running back in the second round? Because I don't know about you. Yeah, over the last couple of weeks, I've slowly but surely like the idea, especially if we go receiver in the first and running back like a Breece Hall, who gives you a lot of Jonathan Taylor vibes in the second round. I mean, if you talk about surrounding Carson Wentz with talent, that would be a very good situation for him.
I just off of positional value, I'd rather not take a running back in the first, really 3 rounds at the minimum. Yeah, I would be against it in the second. Like, I would like the player, just not the value where we got him, because I think Gibson is a good back in this league. I really do. I think, yes, there's definitely some things he needs to work on. I just think that the value is there in those 5th through 7th rounds. Like, there's just so much value at the running back position. Like, last year, Elijah Mitchell, he got drafted in the 7th, 6th, 5th round. He was probably the second or third best running back in the class.
Yeah.
Then you look at, like, Trey Sermon, his teammate with the 49ers, was drafted in the 3rd round. He was drafted wherever he was after the 5th round. And he was one of the best running backs in this class this past year besides Najee Harris. And then, the year before, James Robinson, undrafted free agent. Like, there's just so much value in those rounds where I feel like you can get an impact player right away. Like, a guy that can be a good running, like, even, like, this is going way back, but Alfred Morris was a 6th round pick. So, like, you can get impact players at in the late rounds for these running back positions. And, if you absolutely love someone in the 2nd or 3rd and you think this guy's Jonathan Taylor, Okay, whatever. But I think there's more pressing needs, and one guy I really like, Abram Smith. I think he's like projected to go. Like I think PFF has him as like the 275th best player. I think he's going to go in like the 6th, 7th round. I think he's going to be one of the steals. I think he didn't have much production his first couple years, but and part of that was because of COVID. But this past year, 1,600 yards, I think over 10 touchdowns. He's a power back, which I think is what we do need to go with Gibson. And he was really good at the Senior Bowl. So I really like him. I think he's going to be a good option to draft in the late rounds. But give me your thoughts on drafting running back early.
Yeah, I think I've just done like a couple mock drafts, and sometimes Breece Hall, sometimes Kenneth Walker. One of those two guys ultimately ends up being the best player available at pick 47 once we're on the board in the second round. And I think it might turn out that way come the end of this month when we're actually on the board. So I would say if Breece Hall, especially Breece Hall, but if Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker are on the board, it would be tempting to not go running back, because for as much as people want to talk about Antonio Gibson, I agree with Rio Robinson on this. Do we know for sure that we're going to extend Antonio Gibson past this contract, especially with his fumbling issues? Everybody outside of the local media, outside of the local fan base, loves to talk about how Antonio Gibson, I think, was top 10-ish in rushing yards, and
fifth or sixth.
Yeah, loves to talk about that part of his game. But he also had like a lot of fumbles, and a lot of those fumbles were on our side of the field, cost us points, cost us games. So personally, I would like to do what the Browns are doing, in the sense that they got two elite running backs, RB1s on their team, that have led their offense, even with Baker Mayfield being their quarterback the last couple of years. And it would be awesome to have an Antonio Gibson and a Breece Hall surrounded by a Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, maybe a Jameson Williams or a Chris Olave, whichever receiver floats your boat. And then Logan Thomas at tight end. I think if you really want Carson Wentz to be your guy, you got to surround him with talent. And that's not just pass catchers. That's also guys in the backfield that, help him out, like he had last year with the Colts and Jonathan Taylor. Like, I think you got to surround him with as much talent as possible, whether that be the pass catcher, whether that be guys out of the backfield. Because at the end of the day, they're offensive talent, and they support the quarterback either way.
Here's the thing. I would agree with that I would be okay with it, let's say that, if we had multiple picks. But we have one second-round pick, no third-round pick at all. And we need to fill multiple holes. We need to fill receiver hole, a linebacker hole for sure, and then maybe a safety hole, depth on the offensive line. So let's say if we trade back, right? We trade back from 11 to 20, we get some assets. I would not be upset if we, again, not ideal, but if we draft someone in the like third round or something, if somehow Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker falls into the late second or something, we get him, you know what? Okay, that's fine for me. Not the best situation, but right now we have our first round pick and then a second and then a big drop off until our fourth, and then we don't have a fifth, right? I don't think we have a fifth. So
traded up last year.
It's just like we don't have that many assets to fill holes. I think we need depth on the I think we need another guard that can be filled on free agency, but also can be filled in the draft. So that's why I agree with the people saying this. How the East, Harry, Hilton, trading back would be a very good idea, because there's definitely a lot. Not like there's not huge holes. Like I think the biggest holes are receiver and linebacker, but there's a lot of positions where like depth is needed. D-line at the edge rusher and interior position. Ideally, you address it in free agency, because I think we need some more veterans at the depth positions, because we already got a lot of young guys there. But tight end, again, that's another position where I think ideally you address in free agency, because if you're addressing tight end, it's because you're kind of concerned about Logan Thomas, and a rookie tight end really usually, unless he's Kyle Pitts, is not going to be an impact player right away. So that's kind of why, I don't know about tight end, but guard, running back, I think, I don't know. I wouldn't be, super upset with it. Like when we drafted Gibson originally, I was kind of man, what are we doing? Because we had AP, Darius Geis, McKissick, and Gibson. I think we had someone, Peyton Barber as well. I was like, dang, like
that adds to the potential of maybe a running back in the second, or at least at some point in this draft, because maybe they're not satisfied still.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, I do think they should add another running back because I like the running back room for sure. Like if you tell me Gibson's going to stay healthy, I love this running back room because you have a above average running back in Gibson who can be one of the better running backs in the league. You have an elite pass catching back, and you have another guy in Patterson who's is all right. But I don't know if Gibson's going to stay healthy. And that's the big, like the fumbles, because I feel like the injuries really killed him last year. I'm not so sure if it contributed to the fumbles, but like his rookie year, fumbling was not an issue. This past year, though, literally, like he was not healthy last year at all. He was not healthy at all. He had the shoulder injury, he had a shin injury, he had a hip injury, he had something else. He had got the virus. Like he was never healthy. So that's the bigger reason why I think we need another running back, not because of Gibson the player, but because of Gibson, like in terms of like the injuries, because the injuries have been concerning to me. So, if we take a running back in the mid rounds, in the middle of the draft, I wouldn't be upset with it. Yeah, and that just reminds me of that running back room we had. I thought Geis was gonna be a beast,
Bro.
man. I thought he was gonna be so good. Like that Carolina Panthers game. Ooh, that was insane, man. And then that's
Yeah, he had all the potential in the world. He had the speed, the burst,
strength.
the agility, the strength, everything that you wanted out of a running back. And honestly, if the injuries, I feel like it was less so injuries and like more so the off the field situation
Both.
didn't happen. Then I feel like he would probably still be here.
Yeah, that's another unfortunate situation right there. Let's see. Yeah, and Gibson had turf toe last year as well. For like he had an injury with his toe, so I mean every week he was questionable. I think literally every single week. And oh yeah, Brian Robinson's another guy from Alabama who like if you take him in the fourth, maybe that's a good spot for him. And okay, that's a guy who's kind of a bigger guy who can be in, running, can get you 10, 15 carries in a game. Like McKissick, I guess he can give you 10 carries, but like you don't want him to do that. He's a small, fragile guy who, is good in bursts. Like 5, 6 carries, he can give you 5 yards a carry. But when he's getting 10, he's not as effective. He's a little bit injury prone. So, or not, he's not necessarily injury prone, but like if he did get 10 carries a game, he would probably get injured more. Hassan Haskins is another one. So, I think we definitely need to add another running back because we need an insurance policy for Gibson.
Speaking of SEC running backs, do you like James Cook at all in the 4th round?
I like Cook. I don't like him in the 2nd or 3rd, but if he's in the 4th, I would be okay with it. I mean, I think he's a little more of a pass catching back. Well, he can do both, but like, we don't necessarily need a pass catching back. And that's why I would not prioritize it in the draft. Like, get that guy that's primarily running back because we got McKissick, and then Gibson also can do a little bit. But the reason I'm saying it more is because Wentz does not really like throwing to his running backs, so it's not a priority. So get the best runner in this class.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll answer a couple more questions and then we're gonna wrap it up. Appreciate you coming on. Make sure you guys sub up to DMV Sports Zone on the road to 1.5K. Sub them up. All the good DC content. Commanders, Wizards, Nationals, Capitals, all the good stuff. Subscribe to me as well. Hit that like button on the stream. And so yeah, let's see. Someone says, I think Zonovan Knight would be perfect. Someone also mentioned that I haven't heard of him besides the last stream. Someone said he is a really good sleeper as well. I've been having a lot of fun doing the PFF trade back mock drafts or just doing the PFF drafts. Those have been pretty fun because it's free. You can trade back, which is nice. Like the Draft Network, I like their board better than PFF. But there's so many ads and you have to pay to trade back, and I don't like it as much as the PFF one. Have you been doing those too?
Yeah, I found myself liking the PFF ones better, even with the draft boards being meh. But yeah.
Man, I did one the other day, and I posted this on my channel so you guys can see. But I wanna go ahead and list out. I mean, this was like probably the best mock draft I've done, and they gave me an A too on the grade. Usually I get like a B plus, A minus, but I traded back to 20, got Chris Olave at 20, which usually in their drafts he's not there. Like he's 100% taken by the Saints or someone. So got Chris Olave at 11. Then I got Petrie, the Baylor kind of do it all guy. They list him as a corner, but he's more of he's probably going to be that Buffalo nickel or free safety in the NFL, but he can play corner. So I got him, and then I got Chad Muma as a linebacker, and I'm trying to see the rest of this right here. And then I got a guard. What's his name? Parham from, I think it's Memphis. And then I'm trying to see the rest here. But I mean, I was happy with that draft. Let's see. No, go ahead.
No, I remember seeing that. That was addressing 4 areas of concern. Like we were addressing receiver, addressing safety, cornerback ish, addressing linebacker, addressing guard. Like that's an elite. That's elite.
So I'll read it out, and then if you guys got any questions, I'll answer them, and then we'll call it a day. But it was Chris Olave, Jalen Petrie, Chad Muma, Dylan Parham, Jeremy Ruckert in the 4th round for the tight end Ohio State. I like him a lot. That was one of my worst grades that they gave me, but I like him. I think he's a solid tight end that can pass catch, but also add value as a blocker. And then I got a D lineman in the 4th as well, Jeremiah Moon, another linebacker, because that's another thing. We need more than one linebacker. Whether it's free agency or the draft, we don't have enough on this roster. It's Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb, Khaleke Hudson, and then David Mayo. That's really it. Besides the special teams guys, so we don't need just one linebacker. We need 2. So, and then I also got Abram Smith in the 7th round. Let's see. Haha says we are much better off drafting a safety in the 2nd round. Hey, there's some good options there. Brisker from Penn State, Hill, Michigan. I don't think he's going to be there, but he would be an amazing option. If you trade back in the 1st, I wouldn't be upset with that, and then you get more assets. I know you don't like Kyle Hamilton, but I like him. I would take him at 11 for sure.
Me?
No.
Oh,
yeah. All right, man. Appreciate you coming through, guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to DMB Sports Zone. Already talked about it, but great channel over there. Appreciate you coming on, Nati.
Appreciate you, bro, and thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure, and love talking about obviously Haskins at the top, and then everything about the draft and stuff. Man, we're like you said, 2.5 weeks out. 2.5 weeks
man, out. It's crazy. I'm hyped. All right, man. Peace.
Yeah. Peace.